All right, we'll call the Board Insurance and Finance Committee meeting to order. If everyone would please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here at our May 6th Board Insurance Committee meeting. At this time, Mr. Superintendent, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Lejeune? Mr. Bergeron? Here. Mr. Hidalgo? Here. And we also have Mr. Edmonds, who is here. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Lejeune is, Mr. Edmonds is here, and Mr. Lejeune as a visitor. You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. All right, before we get started, we'll just do a little housekeeping as we have done in the recent past. If there are any questions about the presentations that come up, if you would please walk over to the podium in the back corner here where I'm pointing, and to your right. That podium has a pen and a pad on it for you to write down your questions. If you do have questions, we're only going to read the questions if you put your name next to your question. Before we do get started on our agenda, because we already had someone very kindly pre-printed questions before the meeting started. We have questions. That's interesting to me, but I will go through them because some of them are very relevant to like a pre-meeting question and answer period. Question number 1, why does the LPSS Board Insurance and Finance Committee require written questions for public comment when no other LPSS board committee requires this practice? We do not require written questions for public comment. Public comment is by state law afforded to any individual in the public when an item is on the agenda to be voted on. We are the only LPSS committee that allows questions. So, question number 1, already out the gate when we start our meeting today, is just, we trying to do, I as a chairman trying to do a good thing by allowing questions. No other committee allows questions. Public comment is a comment. Public comment does not include questions. That happens when you go to city council meetings. It happens when you go to other school board meetings. We're following state law. Actually, we're going over and above by allowing questions. I'm going to read these questions today, but moving forward, a question that does not have a person's name by it, we will not entertain. Question number 2, one of the proposed cost-saving measures to limit the network doctors. Considering that this is a self-funded plan, who will be determining that network? Again, premature question. We haven't heard anything from the presenters today. Considering that the RFP is out for bid to select an administrator of our insurance plan, when will the administrator be selected? Will it be before the adoption of the 2025-26 fiscal year budget? We're not at an RFP, we're doing a market check, and again, we haven't heard from the presenters. I don't know how this question could come up before a presentation. Has the LPSS school board considered the economic impact of limiting employees to one hospital when other medical institutions have greatly contributed to LPSS students through various services? Again, we haven't heard the presentation. I don't know where this limiting to one hospital comes from. Considering the proposed changes to our health plan and the proposed deficit in insurance, will it be necessary to employ 7 employees in the insurance department, or could a reduction in staff be considered as a cost savings measure? Superintendent, if you want to answer that, you can. If not, again, that we haven't gone through any presentations yet. Okay. Why is the Board Insurance and Finance Committee the only LPSS board committee that has an attorney present at all meetings? Is this expenditure coming out of legal services or insurance budget? We have an attorney present because this is an $80 million fund, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about, facilities planning where we're going to talk about what we might want to do. This is $80 million of taxpayer and employee-funded money that we're dealing with. This is a very, very complex topic That's why we have an attorney present. Is the expenditure coming from legal services, superintendent, or the insurance fund?
Not from the insurance fund.
Okay,
In
thank
fact,
you.
the insurance fund is funded largely by general fund.
Last question. Considering board insurance finance committee meetings are held during business hours, why is the entire insurance staff present when the director is the only individual responding to committee questions? Should the staff not be at their desks responding to employee needs? Our staff does a wonderful job responding to employee and retiree needs. And again, we are not going to entertain staffing questions from this committee. This committee nor this board has the authority to make decisions on staffing. The superintendent does. If you have a question about that, please contact his office. Thank you. We'll roll right into our agenda. Item 2.1, committee review and approval of the Lafayette Parish School Board Insurance Finance Committee meeting minutes from April 2nd, 2025. At the appropriate time, I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on accepting the meeting minutes from April 2nd? Any committee members? Comments? No? All right, hearing none, please call for the vote.
Mr. Edmond?
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Hidalgo?
Yes.
3-4, none against.
Motion carries. Item 2.2, discussion and our action regarding the Gallagher report. Would the appropriate folks come up to the microphone, and please remember, make sure the microphone is on. Please speak loud and clear, and we welcome you to our committee. While you're getting prepared, Mrs. Gardner, I did get your message. I do realize that there was another questionnaire related to finance. However, we do not have a finance item on our agenda today, and we will not be talking about these things.
Thank you for letting us attend again today. We have an agenda prepared, as you can see. Initially, what we'll do is go over plan performance and then move into all of the other areas. I do have a question, Jeremy. Do you want us to respond to those questions or just kind of incorporate them in? How would you like me to?
So one of the main reasons I read the questions prior to your presentation is so that you can hear them.
Okay.
Please go forward with your presentation as planned. We will circle back to these questions after your presentation, but I wanted you to have them in your mind
Gotcha.
as you present so that maybe you can highlight whatever we need to come back to.
Good deal. Thank you. Tony?
All right, we have the plan performance executive summary. Again, this is, we have everything here through March, showing everything on a per member per month basis. Although we have inflation, we are seeing inflation in the claims. The claims are reducing due to programs that were voted on and implemented by the board on 1/1. Are there any questions on this slide?
Members, this is not the first time we see this, but this year is the first time we've seen the plan classes laid out this way. Are you comfortable with the way this is? I mean, do you understand exactly what this represents?
Yes.
Plan classes, as well as Mr. Lejeune. I don't know if you have a presentation, sir. Okay.
And just as the reference, you can see what the number was 12 months, for the rolling 12 months. But it is going down, which is good.
So there's no breakdown for the other plans? Like you just have the total?
With the rolling 12, unfortunately, the way the reporting comes in, part of that we're working with in the RFP, but the market check, but it doesn't allow for me to break it down by the classes or by the plans on a rolling 12 basis.
Okay, is there no possibility of doing it, or can we adjust that?
There's a couple of items, which is stop-loss reimbursements, subsidies and rebates that aren't broken out by plan. The reporting does not come in, so I'm not able to track that and then over that 12-month and then be able to show you those PEPMs. Of course,
I
we'll have
think-
those for each month.
Yeah, I think what we could do, if you just want to look at the claims,
Yeah,
just the
something
medical
to give
and the
us a-
RX based on actives, no Medicare and over 65, could we do that? Just claims, not net plan cost, not Medicare
That's what's showing right here, you're saying.
for previous year.
Oh, at the
Yeah, we're
previous
looking at
year?
the prior rolling 12 months. Like, is there, because I want to look at,
Yeah, we
when we
can-
look at the reports over month to month, I want to
we
see
can.
how we're ebbing and flowing.
Yeah, I'll go back with the team, we'll see if we can get that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is a repeat slide. I know it's very busy. Nothing has changed here. This is just to, again, all of the changes that were implemented are included in our projection for next plan year of 25, or next fiscal year, 25 through 26. So this includes the programs that were implemented 1/1/25. Just want to give you a moment to review that. And then this will also, I'm sorry, reading the wrong note. There's nothing else on this one. So it still stands at, our projected number is the red number here of 69,995, or the 70 million for next year.
And I guess the only comment I want to continue to make is you can see what we're doing is we're looking at the medical claims. We're adding in the program changes that we implemented for 1/1. And basically what we do is we have to inflate those numbers based on cost of medical. So when we think about the projection for next year, we're not going to pay the same amount of money per claim. You know, their rates are going up just like food is going up. And that's what you'll see with the 7.5 and the 13% for medical and prescription. So in other words, the cost of doing business, unfortunately, on a national basis, continues to increase. So that's why we have to continue to try to add programs that can mitigate some of that trend.
Do we know how we're trending versus the, like, national average or similar plans?
Go back to the previous.
Yep.
Yes, you can look at the rolling 12, and you can see that we're now averaging $506 versus the $530.
Got you. Thank you.
Next slide, I think we're good.
Okay, and these are the programs that were implemented 1/1/25. I'm going to give you a moment to review these, take those in. These are the programs that have been implemented and are help bending that trend. So if you remember, we came back and did a projection right before we started, feeling that the year was going to end at around 68 million, but because you've put these into place, it has had an impact, as you saw on the the PMPM we just showed. Any questions? Okay.
Good afternoon. These are some items that we've already spoken about in previous meetings, but we want to continue to bring them up and try to update you guys on where we are. Of course, 1/1/25, we implemented some programs or point solutions to help mitigate the plan cost for LPSS. All these items on this page and the following page are ideas, solutions, and strategic initiatives to continue to help mitigate and control your inflationary costs. Things like, of course, we've spoken about your PBM RFP or market check, your medical TPA market check, where not only are we looking at other third-party administrators to help process and pay your claims on LPSS's behalf, but also those that have solutions internally and allow for solutions externally to continue to control those costs. Things like steerage, centers of excellence, skinny networks, direct contracting, all of those items. In addition to that, there are 4 cost containment strategies that we are looking into in more of a in-depth analysis. Those are previously, effective 1/1, you implemented a musculoskeletal center of excellence program. So now we're looking at an oncology center of excellence program. It's similar to the program that you implemented for this year. And it's an optional program, and it's focused on oncology, from all the way from prevention to diagnostic treatment. In addition to that, we're looking at a Go to the Doctor campaign plus a telehealth navigation solution. So that is encouraging your members to establish a relationship with a primary care physician tied to an incentive program. And so we're looking into that and looking into the ROI, and all of those items will be brought at the next BIFC meeting. In addition to that, we're looking into infusion therapy solutions. So as you can imagine, there are so many infusion drugs out there. Those are your J-code drugs. And what's happening is, what we're seeing in the market is that these hospitals, even though someone might be receiving an infusion in an outpatient facility, that outpatient facility is typically tied to a hospital. And what happens in those cases is that it's extremely costly to get your infusions done at a facility that's tied to a hospital. So what these solutions try to do is steer that infusion to be done in the privacy of the member's own home. So they have providers that help assist in that infusion. You get to stay at home. You don't have to disrupt your daily life. And then, of course, there's cost containment when you're able to do so. And then in addition to that, there are federal and state program steerage and concierge solutions. As you can imagine, or not imagine, but there are so many programs out there at the state and federal level for your members to take advantage of in certain circumstances. Most cases are cases where you wouldn't even think that there's a program out there that would help the member from a cost perspective, as well as the plan. So we're looking at those items as well, which is, it's a voluntary program, but it can create savings to the plan. Any questions? All of these items will be brought back to the June 4th meeting.
Let's take this moment to kind of talk about timelines. One of the things that we've talked about quite a bit recently internally is kind of how our budget overlaps with the plan year. Excuse me, how our budget does not overlap. It's a 6-month cycle.
Right.
So our budget year is July, plan year is January. We've already talked about the inefficiency of moving the plan year. We're not going to move our budget year. And so we run into the way claims are processed, because it takes so long in some cases. We run into having to make these decisions at the last minute. And it's unfortunately, it's a bad perception, because every year we're at this table and then the question is, well, why don't you guys do this sooner? Well, we've been working on a lot of these processes since January. Arguably since December, but at least since January, we've been working, you guys have been working on a lot of these processes. So it is beyond our control that our fiscal budget is not aligned with our plan year and our rolling 12, if you will. But let's talk about how it's virtually impossible to move up many of these timelines earlier than we're already on. And then let's talk about, Superintendent, let's talk about the reality of this is just how business has to be conducted. We are going to have to do as much of this groundwork as we can, starting as early as we can, but knowing that a lot of the pharmacy stuff, a lot of this stuff, most of all of this stuff, is not going to be able to be decided until May, June, and in some cases July. So touch on that, because I think the perception out there is, well, they always wait till the last minute, and then they cram in these decisions, in one meeting, and there are a bunch of theories of and conspiracies of why we do that. But let's speak about the realities of where we are, so that we can at least get that cat out of the bag, and we can all get, whether we agree or not, we can all know, the intelligent folks can know, this is the process, this is what we have to work with.
Yeah, so many of these solutions take an extreme amount of time and tediousness in ensuring that, one, the vendors receive the appropriate data to do their analyses, right? So we're not just throwing something at the door and letting them come up with a number. It's based off of your information, right? So to gather that information, to bundle it up, to get it to them, to have them look at it, do their analysis, then they get it back to us, then we have to validate their analysis, right? With our underwriters and our actuaries, and make sure that the numbers that they're providing to us are reasonable and accurate. So it does take time. Many of these, like you stated, we've been working on the Go to the Doctor campaign, building what that would look like, feel, the ROI, all of those things since December. Many of these point solutions, though, Jeremy, just so you guys know, can be implemented at any time. So the point solutions can be implemented at any time. So let's even say but in order to get that ROI and built into what your budget, what it might do to your budget, right? They work off of data. So it also has to be more recent data, right? So their numbers can be as accurate and as close as possible. So when you implement it, the savings dollars align. So I can't go back and I can't get an analysis from one of these today and then bring that same analysis back to you guys for next year because I'm not using the same data. It would, so that's the other catch too, is that you want to ensure that the analysis that you get back is closer to where you set your budget as possible, that they're using that type of data. But it just takes time. And we want to ensure that that when we deliver the results to you guys, that you're fully understanding it and you're able to move forward with it.
Yeah, to Lana's point, really, I want to give kudos to the board. You know, when folks are asking you, it seems like it's all bunched up right before budget and you're making all these decisions. What I would say is most employers don't do it the way that you do. You know, I know when you think about, let's just say a market check for 1/1/2026, most employers would probably have that work done by 8/1. We need to have that work done by June 1. And the reason why is because you guys have taken the position that with all your new hires that come in during the summer, you don't want to hire them with them thinking that the benefits are one way and then they change to something else. And that's kind of extraordinary because that's putting you guys on full throttle. That's putting us on full throttle. And we're also asking the vendors to make exceptions because quite often when these vendors are making decisions regarding their pricing, to Lana's point, they want the most current data. So we're saying we need your work done by April so that we can present it to you by June, so that the new hires get accurate information, so that they know what they're coming into for the new year. And I'm just applauding you for that. You're keeping us on tight schedule, and you're keeping yourself on a tight schedule.
So let me, let's go back to slide 6, if you can. Okay, so very first thing for our board members and members of the public to understand is this is where we are right now as far as May, because there has to be a budget that has to be accepted by July 1, just so that everyone kind of understands that regardless of if it's health insurance, regardless if it's different things that we're doing in the school system, everything has to be budgeted for July 1. That means there are certain timelines and certain things. If you go to this particular slide, and I want you to direct your attention to where it says current premiums funded, 57 million. General fund, 6.6 million. Projected of what it's going to be, $69 million. So you guys, we put all of this into the budget, and last year we had to put in 6.6. They are saying that that is not enough. They're saying that in addition to 6, you probably need another 5. Am I correct?
You're right.
All right. Forward on to these particular things that go to the next slide. All of these different things that we're doing here, and I'm saying, go to the next one right there. And I'm going to start throwing some darts out there. Whether it's the committees or whether it was the advisories in the years past, never looked at doing these things that we're proposing, because what I'm going to say is decisions that needed to be made. For example, we got 3 different people that are providing us with drugs. The market and every superintendent that I talk to say that they can get a better deal when they go with one. And we would save money to hopefully offset, again, 6.6 and an additional 5. Look at this TPA market check. I'm not saying it was the committee. I'm saying that the people before Gallagher, did they go do this? Did they go check to see whether or not these people were giving us the best deal as far as the market is concerned? The answer is no. They were not doing this. All of these different solutions that they're proposing, all of these things, I am saying to us that why are we pushing Gallagher? Because I'm going to tell you right now, we're pushing Gallagher. We're pushing Gallagher for the reason of we're taking money out of the classroom. 57 million, we're giving 6. They're saying you need another 5. Can I come up with $11 million from all of these different things? I don't know. But I think it's worth us trying and seeing whether or not we can do that, because, listen, I want to provide the best health insurance for retirees, for our active employees. I'm going to be a retiree soon. All I'm saying is that all of these different things, I can't find one place in the last 5 to 10 years that people have gone and actually pursued this particular thing. That's like having an insurance policy that you've had since 2014, and you're still paying the same premium, and it just continues to go up. Shop the market, shop the market, shop the market. That is what I'm trying to say that we're trying to do. And listen, I don't know if we can come up with, because listen, you know what I'm telling our team? We're for the 25-26, we're gonna put $6 million and we're gonna put it in the clouds, and we're gonna say, if we need it, we're gonna be there, but it's gonna be a one time, but we're gonna go and pursue these things here to give us an opportunity to try to find a way to make this work. And board members, I'll just keep going back to is that we have facilities that have been neglected. Listen, a lot of you are retirees. We're educating kids in the same facilities that some of you actually worked in. No repairs. Our maintenance department is trying to catch up with different things. All I'm saying is we have to keep our facilities up. We have to do things. Kids, we need to educate kids. So I will end my conversation with that. I don't know, board members, whether or not we're going to get to $11 million from all of these things. But I am asking that the 4 of you here and the other 5 give us an opportunity, because guess what? Lafayette Parish is the insurance company, not Blue Cross. Lafayette Parish. In fact, we ought to change the card and it ought to say LPSS insurance. That's all I got.
Before we move forward, committee members, fellow board members, if y'all have any comments,
Yep.
now's a good time to make them. But I do want to remind us, we're the fiduciaries of this health insurance plan. And I would say, if you don't know what that means, I would say that I would encourage you to look it up. I would encourage you to talk to our attorneys. I would encourage you to talk to administration. It's a big deal when we make these decisions every year. It's a big deal when we pull in millions of dollars out of the general fund. We can't afford to go and I'm not going to support a 25-30% increase in premiums across the board. We're not going to do that. So we have to find ways to tackle these things. And I guess, like the superintendent said, to end what I have to say, I don't like it when I see to be determined. I don't like it when I see, well, it's coming. My point of all of this exercise was to stress the tightness of our reality and the tightness of our timeline. You had something, Mr. Badger?
Yeah, I was just going to supplement what the superintendent was saying, because I spent the last few days pouring over the proposed budget that we have. And there's some cuts coming. I mean, we've seen it. There's hardly any capital improvement funds, like, in this budget, not nearly as close as they've had before. We were talking about it earlier before the meeting, like almost $850,000 potential increase this year in property insurance, liability insurance, student athlete insurance. Like, we've got to find money for those. And if we can claw back some of that $6.6 million to help fund some of these or alleviate some of these cuts, it would be nice. So just to stress the importance of, like, June's going to be a big month. There's going to be these insurance changes coming. We're going to have budget meetings. I foresee that we're going to have to come back, maybe potentially do some budget adjustments again. I want to stress that, like, June 4th, like, I hope that we will have some solid answers for this and some potential. And I know it's big, right? Just looking at this, like, direct contracting, right? Like, it's 2 words on this page, but I can tell you it's a huge initiative. There's very few companies out there doing direct contracting, like working directly with the hospitals and saying what's the best price we can get. So if you go to Ochsner or Lourdes or any one of these systems, right, we have direct contracting with them. We're cutting out the middleman. Like, that is a humongous undertaking that these 2 words on this page, I think, don't show how important that could be in terms of cost savings. And I just, again, I'm going to do like Jeremy said, and just I don't like TBDs on the page, but, like, I just want to make sure that we import how important this is. Because, again, if I got to come to the main board and we got to have another October meeting, I don't want to have that. I want us to have a good game plan so when we go to the board, it shows cost savings. It's fair to the insured, and we get past this. We don't do this every year. I don't want to have to come to this every year and say the insurance fund's underwater, and I don't want to get another letter from our auditor saying the insurance fund could potentially be defunct. I want to make sure that we have a solid game plan, and that does take time. And I just
want to add that, one of the unique differences in you and maybe some other organizations is we get it. This affects children, futures, the community. It's quite different than a lot of other businesses. Not that we should differentiate one client from another, but, we're personally vested in this.
Yes, sir.
On page 7, they have the 2025 estimated impact saving of $5.9 million, a little better than $5.9 million. If this wouldn't have happened with this projected savings, where would we be hypothetically? More we would need for this?
Mm-hmm. Let me go to the page that you're referring to. So his question was if we didn't implement all of these items to come to the projected savings of 5.9, where would we be?
It's kind of hard to back up into that number right at this second, but remember that our PMPMs right now are lower than the previous, rolling 12. I wish what we had in front of us is what we would call a financial monitoring report that allows us to know kind of.
Would we not be able to just say that you guys we're putting in $6 million. We had to put in $6 million.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying we got to put another 5.
Right.
With this, that would be another what?
Yeah, so if we hadn't done this, we'd be in
17.5
worse.
million.
Yes, we would. That's exactly right. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, because that speaks to the
That's a great-
magnitude of of what we're dealing with in this plan. And just to repeat, raising premiums, reducing benefit, that game, we need to change that game, because that just hurts our people. We need to change, and you guys are working on that, but that speaks to the magnitude. Mr. Lejeune, did you have anything?
Yeah, and I was just gonna, just to add and to kind of continue the conversation onto the next page, but what our job is really, what we're here for is to try to come up with solutions with the least disruption, the most savings and the least disruption to your members, right? I mean, that's what we're looking for. And our goal for this upcoming year is to focus on solutions that would have a positive impact to your members, not a negative impact. So we are putting a lot of focus and a lot of attention into the pharmacy market check, into the TPA market check, what other solutions and pricing out there that wouldn't affect your members. These point solutions are optional and voluntary and, quite frankly, more beneficial for your members. You know, so, and the last resort, after I talk through some of these plan stewardship changes on page 9, would be looking at plan design changes. We are also a fiduciary. We have to look at those as well. We have to look at, if none of this works, what else can we do? And that's going to be something that we look at year over year, but it's, in this case, a last resort. We'd like to focus on the other items before we look at that.
And board members, let me just say that, you know, by all means, shortage of where we are as far as teachers and so on and so forth. Before we go to any of these measures, such as changing benefits, increasing premiums, so on and so forth, we actually have to provide them at least with saying that we tried to do everything we could and nothing else is there, we got to go somewhere else. So we're going to really try to focus on some of these things that they have provided before we go to our employees, to our retirees, to say that we have to increase your premiums, change your deductibles, so on and so forth. So that is why I'm adamant that what we're trying to do is change this whole plan that should have been done 5 and 10 years ago.
So in addition to the point solutions that I discussed on the previous page, we're also looking into enhancing your current wellness program. Right now, your wellness program is tied to a deductible credit, is what I would call that. So we're looking at some enhancements there. Again, we're looking at a Go to Doctor campaign and incentive program, and we'll have some analysis back on that. We're looking into tobacco surcharge programs, spousal incentive surcharge programs, and then spousal incentive HRA programs, which is something that's relatively new out there in the market. It's a trending strategy. So we'll bring that analysis back as well. And then, like I said previously, the last resort, but we will be looking at it, are some plan design modeling. That's changing some deductibles and out-of-pockets and things of that nature. But we're hoping that the other items that we're going to look at and bring those results back will help you guys, put you guys in a better spot.
Question, for the modeling,
Yep.
one of the things I didn't see on it was, what would it look like? Because it's in here, like, all right, what if we eliminated enhanced PPO? What if we eliminated basic PPO? I don't see one in here that said, what if we eliminated high deductible plan? Could y'all model that one too?
We certainly can.
Okay.
It's-
Just because I see all the other ones being eliminated, I don't see one that
Yeah.
would eliminate the high
It's
deductible.
typically not something that you would take away, only because that's the plan that's performing the best right now.
Okay.
Right.
Um,
So, and that's what I was going to say. We can model it and show you, but typically it's not going to bring back positive results to
Okay.
eliminate it. But,
Yeah, that 17 million would probably go to like 30 million.
I just want to.
but we can bring it just so
Yeah.
you get to see those results.
And
Okay,
again, I think, you know, everybody has made it quite clear that you want to explore everything before you get into these areas where it creates noise. Even if, and let me say this, even if we found the $11 million, that doesn't mean that we're not going to look for 15. You know, this is constantly evolving. Because as far as we can see, trend is not going away. Nobody's telling us that the cost of healthcare in 2027 is going to be lower. So we're trying to play catch-up right now so that we can level out with future initiatives.
Melody, you want to talk through what is on page 11 and 12?
Tell me if you guys want to or not. Okay, so this is where we did some modeling. We basically said that if you eliminated the basic PPO, what would happen is it would decrease your claims cost by 2.8 million, but it would increase your employee contributions because those individuals would, and the way we modeled it is we basically did a 50-50 split. So we said 50% would go to the higher PPO deductible plan, and then the other would go to the qualified high deductible plan. And that would save overall $5 million. If you eliminated the enhanced PPO and you did no design plan changes, what would happen is it would actually cost money, which is kind of interesting, right? You eliminate the claims, but you decrease the amount of contributions that you're going to receive, and so it comes up with this net number of actually costing you more. If we kept all the plans the same, but we did design changes, which is a very typical strategy with most employers. Raise the deductible, raise the out-of-pocket, raise the co-pays. What would happen is you would decrease claims costs by 3.8 million, and that we were keeping the contributions the same. If we eliminated the basic PPO and we made plan design changes to the enhanced plans and to the high deductible plans, what would happen is it would reduce your claims cost by 6.5 million. You would increase your contributions by 2.2, and it would leave you a net number of $8.7 million savings. We have to be determined on the last item. This is basically adding an exclusive provider tier and plan changes to all of the plans. We're not modeling that one yet because that decision will be made alongside the selection of the TPA. Some TPAs have exclusive provider arrangements, some allow for direct contracting, and others do not. So until we do the entire analysis with the considerations and the opportunities, we don't really know what plan design to present to show you what it would look like. That's to be determined with the TPA analysis.
And I'll just add that this model it's a model looking at if you were to implement these changes 7/1/25. On the next page, it's the same exact structure that Melody walked through, but this is a model if we made any of these changes and they went into effect 1/1/26. And we'll bring the model you asked for to the next meeting.
But let me ask you, and again, that's for the board members and for our staff to understand this. Before we even go into whether or not we're going to eliminate a particular plan, we're going to have some results of what RX is going to look like, what market check's going to look like, all of these different things before we go and start eliminating.
That,
am I correct in
that is exactly right. So our goal first, like again, we want to look at savings to disruption, right? And that's usually how we layer them. So through the TPA and the PBM market checks, we're likely going to see significant savings with much smaller disruption or noise than we would see if we started eliminating plans or changing. So yes, we are waiting to get those results back, to bring that analysis to you guys, and want to focus more so on that before we start really looking into this aspect.
This is at the bottom of the decision tree.
Yes.
But before you leave, at some point, can you give the board, our team, and the rest of the public a timeline on these different things that you're going to be doing?
All of these results will be brought back to the June 4th meeting.
So June 4th,
Yes.
we will have those results.
Yes.
And then you'd have to go in front of the full board after that, right? Okay.
Francis, as you know, we have one hiccup as it relates to the PBM. We still don't have a date yet when that's going to come back. We're waiting on that date. We're praying that we get it back by the June 4th
So
meeting.
the TPA results will be at the June 4th meeting?
Yes.
The PBM would be in the July.
right, that's right.
If we can't make it the June 4th. We do know that timeline did get bumped up, but we're waiting on confirmation from our pharmacy consultants who handled that aspect on if they feel like they can bring the results back to the June 4th. Without a doubt, they said the July, but
Let's look at the keep all plans and design changes on all plans. Give me an idea of what that looks like.
so you're talking about the design changes? What those design changes would look like with this model?
With that model.
If you turn to the appendix on page 17, and I know it's small, but it's hard to fit all these changes, because I wanted to show you guys what you currently have versus what that change would look like. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit for everybody. So for example, for the PPO basic plan, the items in red are the changes that would occur. The items in black that are crossed out are basically what the current benefits are today.
Okay,
These
so-
changes are reflected in the model that we did.
Yes. So here's what I see, which is what I thought I would see. I see higher deductibles. I see 70-30 instead of 80-20. I see, in many cases, higher copays, or at least a percentage that, after the deductible or before the deductible. And I'll tell you, for me, having the experience that I have with the health insurance industry, that should be the last resort. Because insurance in general, not just health insurance, the purpose of it is to spread risk. And we are disproportionately spreading risk when we start these major percentage changes to the people who, whether it's self-inflicted or not, we're looking at some self-inflicted solutions, but whether it's self-inflicted or not, these people who have to utilize healthcare more are disproportionately affected. We're defeating the purpose of insurance as we start to do that. I do not believe in that. To me, that should be the last resort. We have a lot of other options on the table that we're working on now. Direct contracting.
right.
And I think that that should be the last resort. That's just my one person opinion.
Yep, and like we said, we'll have many of those solutions brought to the next
And
meeting.
Jeremy, that's why you're self-funded. I mean, this is what you're supposed to do. You know, being self-funded isn't as easy as writing a check to Blue Cross or United for fully insured premiums. You know, those plans don't have any choice but to use the cost containment features that insurance company is providing through that fully insured premium. The only changes they can make for their employees is to change benefits. But that's the advantage to self-funding, is to explore all these avenues in which are creative ways in order to maintain and control your claims cost.
You mentioned the name Blue Cross because that's who administrates our plan now. It doesn't matter who the insurance company is.
Exactly.
If we were not self-insured, it is a fact. Our premiums would be a lot higher and the benefit would not be as good as it is. So,
Correct.
Thank you for knowing that, but we're still in a bind. So let's keep going.
Okay, were there any questions on those previous pages that I just walked through? All right, and the last item in this presentation is just the annual service calendar. It is, again, it's a working fluid calendar. These are always goals that we set internally. These obviously aren't the every single day-to-day things that we work with Lafayette on, but these are some major pointers that we like to continue to bring into deliverables. And that is the end of our presentation.
All right, we're gonna go through these questions. Before we do, when are we gonna? Obviously, it's not on the agenda today, but at what point will we get to, I guess, the financial side of all of this individually? For example, okay, let me share this good news. In years past, we had consultants who were not supposed to be receiving commissions, overrides, rebates, et cetera, et cetera. However, they did, right? Well, since we've fixed that problem, what we've been able to do is take those same commissions and all that stuff, and I guess I can say this now, and we've been able to put it toward our consultants' fee. So basically, whatever the fee it was that we approved to hire them is zero. We're gonna get back paid for that. Plus, those commissions moving forward are gonna go to pay their fee. So, I mean, we've saved, I don't know,
Whatever
175.
commission, about $100,000, I think, am I accurate, about 100?
That's correct. So you're saving
From
about
the Humana.
$100,000.
Correct, so Humana has to get the commission side of it, and then they will turn it over, and Gallagher will credit. They're working through that process, so we are putting it towards Gallagher's payment. We've
Yeah.
made it work.
so we have a lot of little things like, that's not little, we have a lot of things like
Cost savings
that.
is, we're pushing
Cost savings
everything.
that have happened already. And so at some point, I'd like for us to discuss those. Maybe today's not appropriate. What we'll do is we'll jump back into these questions. It's only 7 of them. And we're going to try, and there's an additional one, but we're going to try to tackle these and answer these to the best of our ability, okay? So even though question number 1 is not for you, it's for us, I'm going to repeat it. Why does our committee require written questions? We don't require written questions. Public comment, per state law, is comment, not questions, and also it is only when there is action being taken. And so I consider, as a repeat of what I said earlier, the ability to write down questions and get them addressed in the committee meeting to be a benefit of this committee, and not a deterrent. One of the proposed cost savings measures is to limit the network and doctors. Considering that this is a self-funded plan, who will determine that network? So can you point to, in your presentation, to your recommendations to limit the network doctors?
At this time, we do not have any recommendations to limit the network of doctors, but what we are exploring are what we call high performance or select networks. Some third-party administrators have certain designated networks that we can look at, but you can also bump those up against national networks. So maybe you have a choice of 4 plans, right? And one of those being a select network plan. There are so many different opportunities that we're evaluating that we'll be able to bring back at the next meeting.
So if I saw your presentation, if I read it correctly, this select network plan, which would in fact be a narrower network, it isn't a plan. You would have to choose to be in that plan, just like you choose whether you want to be in the high deductible plan or you want to be in the enhanced PPO plan. This would be your choice as the insured. So what's the benefit to that?
So you want to take that, what the benefit is? You want me to?
So,
Lana, real quick before you answer, is it more like the tiered network that you proposed last spring?
So there's multiple different kinds, and it depends upon the third-party administrator that handles that program. So again, that's why it takes so long to evaluate these TPA market checks, is because every TPA offers different solutions, different networks, different plan options, different setups to those plan options. So one, for example, Blue Cross, the third-party administrator, they offer what is called an EPO, which is tier 1 is your select network. Maybe, for example, might be an Ochsner or an Ochsner affiliated network. Tier 2 would be what your tier 1 networks are today, which is the national network. Tier 3 would be out of network. Other TPAs might say, we're just going to offer a plan that is an Ochsner select network, and you can choose. So you can continue to offer your national network plans as is, plan designs, and then we'll also give your members an additional option. So that's why it'll be important for us to really address it at the next meeting, where we actually bring back the concrete results from those market checks. Because I don't want to bring up any hypotheticals here. I think it's important to wait till the results come back and we're able to actually deliver what each TPA is able to
Yeah, I don't want
offer.
exact numbers, but generally, if you have that type of a plan added, basically the participant would get a lower deductible, a lower copay.
That is correct.
Maybe a higher or a
That-
lower percentage payout. And so it's advantageous for them, should they choose that. Now, they have a narrower.
That is
and
correct.
of
network.
course, the reason is why? Why would you give somebody a lower deductible and a lower copay? It's because those providers agreed to a lower reimbursement rate because they're not participating in a network with their competitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, board members, I'm not on the health insurance here in Lafayette Parish, and I have a insurance company to where they say, you're in network, you're out of network. If you want to be in network, here's the cost. If you want to go out of network, here's the cost. And everything is affiliated with your choice. It's a buffet. You choose where you want to go based upon that's the price. So that, again, is something that we are trying to create to where we're not forcing people to do this. You just need to understand that if you want this, this is the cost. If you want this, this is the cost. And there may be a third option for people.
Number 3, considering that the RFP is out for bid to select an administrator for insurance, when will the administrator be selected? Will it be before the adoption of the 25-26 fiscal year budget?
So again, the results and those recommendations to the board will be brought to the June 4th meeting.
Okay, so the answer is yes. It will be before the final budget meeting. Has the school board considered the economic impact of limiting employees to one hospital when other medical institutions have greatly contributed to LPSS students through various services? So I'm going to ask you the same question. Where in your presentation, and before you answer it, but here's the question. Where in your presentation are you limiting employees to just one hospital? And while you find that in your presentation to let me know where it is, I want to state that this is the same mentality that we have unfortunately used for decades, and one of the reasons why we're in the position we're in. We hear people say, I don't want to have to change my doctor. And I agree with them 100%. I would hate that. I love my doctor. But I will tell you that if my doctor is not playing ball as it relates to the cost of healthcare, then I turn from a patient, a member, now I'm a fiduciary. And we can no longer look at these, well, they've done these various services for us, so we can just go ahead and overpay them millions of dollars a year. That philosophy is out the window with this current school board, and it's time to fix the problem. However, I'm still would like you to answer, what's the impact of limiting employees to just one hospital?
We don't have that in our presentation today. But again, we're looking at all aspects of how you can manage your self-funded plan, and we'll have those results in the next meeting.
Okay, so give me an example. Let's be very transparent today. Give me an example of a situation where we would limit our employees to just one hospital.
I can use, I'm not going to say one hospital. I don't know of any network that only has one hospital. What I can say is that the TPAs that we have requested quotes from all use different networks. For example, they might have Cigna, they might have Aetna, but they might have 3 Aetna networks. One's a very broad network with everybody, one's a more narrow network, and the other is a very selective network. So as we analyze the TPAs, we're looking. By the way, we probably asked these TPAs over 400 questions. Not 10, not 5, 400. And we had different practice areas reviewing those answers. And what they do is they come up with the metrics in which how to measure based on what we think this client's needs is. Well, we know high on the list is what? You guys need money, okay? High on the list is you want less disruption to your participants. High on the list is that you've already given your employees rate increases and you don't want to do that again. High on the list is you've never looked at point solutions. High on the list is you don't have a wellness plan. So we take all of that into consideration as we come back and we tell you what the results look like. United Healthcare has a certain way that they like to create these selective networks. Blue Cross has another means in which they like to do it. Cigna has a way that they like to incorporate Verity Health Network into theirs. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, except that every network probably has 3 different networks that you can choose from, and they are broad to not so broad to the least broad.
And I don't, we wouldn't be recommending a plan with just one hospital.
I've never,
Right.
I don't have
At the end of the
any-
day, that
yeah.
is not going to.
There's no way that one hospital can, meet you guys' needs, plus you have retirees. Everybody doesn't live in the same service area. I'm not aware of any plans that have, as a matter of fact, it's probably against a whole lot of regulations because there's probably not proper access to care.
Right. So I think what we have now in trying to answer this question is we have the typical government free-for-all where our plan now is based on discount pricing, which, by the way, Lords doesn't have the same deal that Ochsner has and vice versa on certain procedures. And so someone may choose to go to their preferred hospital with an L and get a certain procedure that might cost 20% more than the hospital with the O or vice versa. And right now we're allowing that and we're saying, so what? And we're saying, let's just pay the extra. This is that person's doctor. What I'm saying is I want these healthcare providers to start saying, okay, no, it's not acceptable. We're going to do better. We're going to get on a more level playing field in pricing. Or if they don't, then we as a fiduciary have to say we are no longer going to pay 20% more just because you can get away with charging it. This is going to be the option. And if people have to change a doctor, they kind of need to stop pointing the finger at the fiduciaries and start talking to their doctors about why they're not playing ball in that arena. And so I can't imagine that we'd ever just only have one hospital as an option. I'm trying to get you to tell me an example. You haven't been able to, so I don't see that as
It's not going to exist. We're not going to come to the
Correct.
table and recommend one hospital.
What you recommend may, depending on who the TPA is, may favor one provider over the other with pricing. But I mean, there's never going to be a time. Tell me there's never going to be a time where we're going to say you cannot go to this hospital if you are a Lafayette Parish school system employee or retiree.
I don't think there's ever going to be there's never going to be a time when we're going to say you can't go to a particular hospital. Now, what might happen is it might be out of network, and so you would get a lower benefit.
That is the nature of the health insurance
That's the
industry
nature,
outside
right.
of government. And so we're trying to get there. Number 5, considering the proposed changes to our health plan and the proposed deficit in insurance, will it be necessary to employ 7 employees in the insurance department? Or could that's administrative. Why is the Board Insurance and Finance Committee the only board committee that has an attorney present at all meetings? Mr. Superintendent?
Again, Mr. Hidalgo pointed out, this is a business. This is a small business within a huge business. And we want to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's when we're making decisions, especially when it's impacting active and inactive employees. So again, I will say that it is my decision to make sure that our attorney is next to me, giving us what they feel we need to be going as far as legally is concerned. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
And that, it doesn't come out the insurance fund, because in the budget, in the general fund, we do have a line item for legal expenses.
We have a legal fund which comes out to where when we look at this $70 million that is projected to cost as far as it's not the legal fees also. I mean, the legal fees are being paid outside.
And Ms. Hidalgo, about the question prior, we have 7 people in the insurance department servicing over 10,000 members, including over 3,000 retirees,
Yeah.
and running a $70 million business.
That's the next question. Thank you. Let me add to that. Whoever typed this says that these are questions for the Board Insurance and Finance Committee, insurance-related questions, actives and retirees. And so I take that to mean that this is a representative of actives and retirees. Well, I'm a representative of actives and retirees as well. And I'll tell you that I would hope that you all would want us to be sure that when it comes to this very important topic, that we are making the best decision, not the right decision. It's not always the best decision, but we're making the right decisions, and we're working in between the lines of legal, because almost everything we decide on has to go through legal. So whether they are sitting in the room with us, which to me would be an intelligent thing to do, have them in the room while the discussion is being had, or whether they're back at their office and they're hearing everything from our administrators, I would think that you guys, or whoever asked this question, would respect the fact that we have legal with us, so that they are hearing what is happening in real time. So when there's an opinion that's needed, there's no he said, she said. The last question, Ms. LaBeouf, if you could please just come up to the mic very briefly. Considering board insurance finance committee meetings are held during business hours, why is the entire insurance staff present when the director is the only individual responding to committee questions? Should the staff not be at their desk responding to employee needs? Could you tell me, Ms. LaBeouf, how many of your 7 staff members are in today's meeting?
I have 2 staff members in today's meeting. Okay. Typically, I ask 2 staff members to attend. They are management level according to their job description. Those current staff members are out of office right now for an extended period of time. So I've asked 2 of the other staff members to sit in on today's meeting.
Do you feel comfortable that our employees and retirees are getting properly serviced during this today's meeting?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And can you expand a little bit on Mrs. Gardner's comments about how many people, lives, belly buttons, your staff represents on a daily basis? And make it brief, please.
I mean, we're technically responsible for roughly 4,200 active members and 3,300 retirees. I'm thankful that they all don't call upon us all at the same time, but that's where our wheelhouse is. We have both active and retired members. I'll give you an example. HR handles active employees. We handle both groups. I would like to make emphasis, too, with regard to funding. General fund assumes all of the staff members' salaries. There's a certain percentage of 4 staff members that are split between general fund and Fund 85, which is insurance. There are 3 staff members where it's 100% under general fund. So just wanted to make that point as well.
Okay, we have a couple of other questions here. What changes are anticipated in Silver Scripts? Even though we might not know that answer, can we just speak to that question, please?
Yes.
Even though we don't have
Yes.
the RFP back,
Right.
can we speak to that?
Okay, I'll just talk like this. Okay, didn't want to break it. So the Silver Scripts or Egg Whip PBM is part of that pharmacy PBM market check. So again, we're looking at that as well. Currently, you have what we call a wrap type of plan in place. So we're looking at what that analysis or cost savings would look like with removing the wrap, right, if any, or keeping the wrap in place. We're also looking at multiple PBMs that handle what we call egg whips, so the retiree pharmacy benefit under the self-funded plan. Very similar to the way we're looking at the traditional PBM, right? The formularies, we not only look at savings, but again, what does take time, and what I failed to mention a little bit earlier, was that we look at disruption. We do a full disruption analysis. What would that impact look like to the members and the participants? So you can be responsible enough to weigh both the savings versus the disruption. Is that enough of an answer?
Lena, can you please just give a little bit more clarity? That Silver Script Egg Whip is for retirees that are on?
The Silver Scripts plan under the self-funded Lafayette medical plan. Yeah.
I guess the question is, everything's on the table, and we're going to make good decisions that hopefully is going to have as least disruption, that is going to look at cost-saving measures.
That's correct.
Next question. If you can flip back to your presentation, page 4. Yes. Do these numbers include medications? If not, should there be an additional column for meds?
These include medications. It's both medical and pharmacy spend.
Okay. Members, we have not a question. Well, I guess the last part of it was a question. But it's not appropriate unless we make a motion. So someone would like to come up and speak, but unless we have a motion on the floor, no one can come up and speak. And I have been racking my brain to think about what motion we could make based on this. And I mean, the only thing I can think of is that we accept their report. And so if the motion is to accept their report, then when they come up to speak and they don't talk about whether they would like us to accept or not accept their report, then they can't speak. So I need your direction on committee members on how you want to handle this. I'm certainly going to stay behind after the meeting if a couple of us can to speak to this individual. Mr. Superintendent, if you could give a few minutes of your time, as well as Gallagher. But a matter of having someone come up and speak, just to speak, is not in order, and we're not going to start it today.
I mean, we can have a conversation after the meeting if they really want to have one. But like, if they have questions or concerns, like,
Yeah, well, if
always
there,
email them. Like, always email them to us. We can give you something in writing back to.
yeah, I mean, nothing, this is a report. This is all really early stages. Well, not early stages, because we've got to make a decision in June, but there's still ample time between now and then to have conversations. There's really no solid recommendations here today as it relates to very specific information. So, Mr. Guidry, I don't even know who Mr. Guidry is, but if you would like to come up after the meeting, we can certainly have a conversation amongst each other. Hopefully you'll understand that if we allow you to come up and make a comment, A, would be out of order, and B, we would have 10 more, and we're not going to do that. So, committee members, do you have any other questions, comments, or closing remarks, or Mr. Lejeune for Gallagher?
I would just say, take your vitamins before the June 4th meeting, because it's going to be
We've been taken out.
We're going to need them, yeah.
Yeah, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
For Gallagher. I've been reading your, the Beating the Trend and Protecting the Budget on page 9. Can you explain a little bit about the Going to the Doctor campaign and incentive programs? Exactly what does that mean, and how would that affect the insurance that we have now?
Yeah, so a Go to the Doctor campaign, very high level, because again, at the next meeting, we'll have true analysis and numbers to bring back for you for that. But it's basically it's an incentive program. So you would incentivize your members that establish a relationship with their primary care physician. Okay, so, and get those. It's very similar to some of the items that your members already have to take today as it relates to their wellness visit, taking advantage of their wellness visit, biometric screenings, things of that nature. But instead of it being tied to a deductible credit, it's tied to premium.
Okay.
So you would get an incentive for doing those things on a premium basis.
So the premium would go down if you met
Correct.
these?
And for those that don't take advantage of it, the premium would go up. Right.
And what about the first one, the wellness program enhancements?
Those kind of are tied together. So there's a few different ways you could look at a Go to the Doctor. One is tied to a vendor, which we'll talk about, we'll bring, but that comes with a cost and then an ROI. Then there's another way you can do it, kind of like a baby step, where it's similar, where instead of tying it to a credit on a deductible, we'll remove that piece and tie it to premium. So there's a few ways I'm gonna bring it. That's why I broke it out like that, because one is tied to a vendor and one is not. One is just an internal program that can be done.
Has anything ever been done as far as like for going to a gym, working out, a complete wellness evaluation?
So that's another piece of what we're looking at. So I failed to mention, like, enhancing your current wellness. So right now you have so many components, and I'm not sure if it's in the agenda here, but you have so many, I guess, components that your members have to meet in order to get that deductible credit. When I say expand or enhance, it means that maybe they have to do 2 more items, right? Maybe one is that they have to track their steps, or they have to participate in another wellness program for that particular quarter to get their points, to be able to then get their incentive tied to premium. So it is basically expanding your current wellness program.
So if you basically tie into a healthy living, it can reduce your premiums.
Yeah, so there's some vendors that say there's ROIs. That's why I wanted to utilize a vendor. There's other ways in which you can implement without utilizing a vendor at first, kind of taking those baby steps, but you may not get a hard ROI dollar. But we all know that there is evidence stating that if you establish a relationship with your primary care physician, it does reduce ER utilization, which then reduces plan costs. So yes, there is ROI out there that says that if you establish that relationship, and if you as an employer can somehow set up a program that tracks the establishment of that primary care physician, then you will see results. It may not be immediate, right? Because it's got to take time for your members to establish that relationship, right? But there is correlation.
Thank you.
All right, well, I would like to speak to the superintendent, his staff, my fellow board members, and Gallagher just for a minute. It's been a long time that this institution, not these particular people, but this board as a board and the administration even prior to the superintendent have not been trusted on this topic of insurance. There's been a lot of distrust, mistrust. I believe that a lot of it is due to a lot of different opinions on how to, what I want, what do I want. I respect that. It's hard to give everybody what they want. So the superintendent stated it today. I think we're in a time that this school system has not been in at least a decade, arguably longer, in that we're actually going to put all of the options on the table, all of the options afforded to us right now. I mean, we have some things like direct contracting and stuff that we just can't do right now, but we're working on it. But all of the options afforded to us are going to be put on the table, and then we, as fiduciaries, are going to have to make the right decision, which is not always the best decision, depending on who you talk to. I understand that there are some folks that, no matter what the decision is, are not going to be happy with it. More importantly, I understand that there are going to be some folks who are not going to trust us no matter what. The only thing I'm asking is to do the right thing by the members, the right thing by our students, and for this organization and the taxpayers. That's what I'm asking. Now, what that really means is getting all of this homework done. So, just like Mr. Bergeron stated, we're going to take our vitamins. I'm going to drink plenty of coffee, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to do the right thing on this, because not only do we have to clean up the deficit, we need to get us a fund balance back. No more days of saying, well, you got $2 million in the bank, use it. No, that's not how this works. We need our fund, we need the deficit fixed, we need fund balance, and then we need to keep on moving forward to figure out how we can make our plan the best plan around. For years, we've gone backwards a little bit in plan design. We've gone forward a little bit in premium increases. How about we try to turn that around? There's going to be some disruption. Somebody's going to have something change. It's the nature of this industry. So, please, when you guys come back for our June meeting, you've been very prepared at the last several meetings. Thank you. We have not always agreed on where we want to go, but you guys have been very good partners, so thank you. But when you come back at the June meeting, that's the meeting where you have to be on your toes the most and have your stuff together and have no question unanswered. We're not going to do this game like we did at the last board meeting where we started trying to be actuaries in the middle of a meeting and changing figures, okay? That was a disaster, our fault. But we need you guys to have everything in front of you. If our presentation is this big, I'm gonna expect that your presentation is gonna be this big.
It will be.
Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.